In this project, we're going to be creating an email extractor, and this can be used to extract unique email addresses from a string or a block of content. So the objective is to be able to come in and paste a bunch of text content into the text area here. We select the separator that we want to use. So we want to extract out only unique email addresses from this big block of text. And then we've got an option to how we want to separate it. So by default, it's a comma separator. You can use the dash, space, underscore, or semicolon. So we're going to stick with the comma separated. Select the Get Emails button. And what that does is that extracts out only the unique email addresses that are in the block of code, gives us that within the console as well, so we're in help with development. And then we can download the email addresses into a text file. And this again is coming from that block of code. So there's our text file with the email addresses that have been extracted. If you add in another unique email address, so I'm going to just update one of these to be unique. So that's going to give us another unique email address. So now it picked up that email address as unique, still has the other three that were unique. And then once again, we can select to download, can open up that file, text file that's been downloaded to the computer, and check out all the different unique email addresses that we have within this text. This is all done with JavaScript, all done with front-end code, interacting with the DOM elements and using a regular expression to match the pattern within the string content. Create an HTML file. I've got an index.html. I'm linking it to a JS file called code.js. So that's going to be sitting within the same directory. So first of all, let's create some page elements that we can contain a text area into. And this is going to house where we've got the input content. So we can select this text area, and I'm going to give it a class. So it's a little bit easier to make a selection of the content. And I'll give it a class of text content. So this is going to be where all of our text content is going to sit. Let's also apply a label to this. So this is where the user can add their text content. And let's update this to ID so that we can attach the label to it. So there we've got the area for the text content. We're also going to need a button, and the button is going to be what's going to trigger the action that's going to do the submission of the content, and that's all going to be tracked with JavaScript. So within the button, and this can just say get emails. So the idea is that when we click the button, it's going to retrieve back all of the emails from the text content that's sitting within the text area. Let's also create a new div. And this div can be where we can output the results that we have that's coming back from the JavaScript. So we'll output the information back to the user within the results area. Go into your code and let's select the page elements as objects using the document query selector. First, we're going to select the text area. Next, select the button, and we just have the one button tag. If you've got more than one button tag, then make sure that you've got a unique identifier for the page element. Also select the element with a class of results, because that's where we're going to be outputting the content into the HTML. Next, let's go ahead and we're going to add an event listener to the button element, so that will make the button clickable. And the event that we're listening for is going to be a click event, and that will run the function get emails. Create a function called get emails to handle the click content. Select the text area from the text area, and we'll just select the value. And for now, we're going to output that into the console. So right now it's blank. Let's populate some text in there so that we have some dummy text to use as we're developing the application. So this is just going to be a string value, and also include some email addresses in there. So we can have a whole big block of text, and we'll have a few different email addresses so that we can make sure that we're extracting them properly from the block of text. So that gives us 3 email addresses. Populate the string content into the text1 value. So this is going to add it into the text area. So that gives us this type of output within the text area. Try the button again, and we should have the text area being output within the console. Now we're ready to use a pattern match. So let's set up the regular expression that we want to use. And this is going to be matching for an email pattern. So start by setting up the forward slashes, and we're going to be searching this through globally and also to be case insensitive. So add in the GI flags within the regular expression. We want to select an array of all of the emails as we're getting the contents from the temporary, and we're going to use the match method to match against this pattern from the regular expression, and that's going to be where we're going to contain the email addresses. So what this will produce is this is going to produce either null if there's no matches found, or it will produce a value of the emails within an array format that are found within the pattern that we're matching. So set up a capturing group, and you can use that by using the rounded brackets, and we want to match a particular character set, so using the square brackets for the character set, and then set up the range that we want to match, so starting at uppercase A to uppercase Z, lowercase a to lowercase z, so that will match all of the found results, and this is going to match quite a bit because it's going to match all of the available characters within the string content. So we get quite a bit there. So we get 82 separate characters that matched this pattern. We also want to match the digits, so 0 to 9. So that will capture all of the digits into the pattern match for the email addresses. And by adding in the plus sign, this is going to capture all of that content. So this is going to capture all of the words till the next one that doesn't match the pattern. So right now it's stopping at the and symbol, and it's capturing the 12 different words that are contained within the regular expression. So by adding in the plus sign, it's going to match the pattern up until where the pattern no longer matches. So we also want to include into the pattern match for emails. For example, you will have emails that have a first and a last name, so they can be period separated. So we want to also capture those, and notice here it's still breaking those apart. So add in the period. There's also emails that could potentially have a hyphen or an underscore, so those are still also going to be valid emails. So we want to make sure that we're capturing those as well. So add those into the patterns that we're looking for the email pattern, so an underscore and a slash. So now we should be able to get all of the characters up until the and, or up until there's a space, and that's what's being returned back here. So it's returning back essentially all of the separate words, and it's got about 9 of them there. So we also want to match up until only the and symbol. So if the and symbol is not included within the pattern that we're matching, then we don't want to select that. So it's going to be now looking for all of these character sets that are going to match and that are going to be just before the and symbol. So that now returns back 3 separate matches that are found, because it's once again it's looking for the and at symbol. And the next part is that we want to match another character set. So we could copy the one that we have here originally, and this is going to be for the domain name of the email address. So that's going to be the next pattern that we're matching, and we're matching that up until it matches a period. So we do the forward slash and a period, and now it should be returning back that entire set for the email address up until and including the period, without returning back the domain extension. So that's the last part that we need to match, and we can copy the character set once again to match into the domain extension. So now we should be able to retrieve back the entire email address, and it's just getting the first character of the domain extension. That's where we need to add in the plus, so that will allow us to capture that entire piece of content up until the spaces, which are not included within the character set. So that's how we can get the email addresses out of a string content. And if there is duplicates in these, so right now we're not accounting for any duplicates, so the duplicates are also being listed. So what we want to do is we want to set up a way to extract out the duplicates, and we can do this as we create an array. And this is just a blank array. It's meant to just hold all of the content. And let's loop through the emails. And as we loop through each one of the emails, So this is going to be basically the raw data of emails. And we can also just call this raw. So emails raw that we're going to output. And we want to clean this up and just have unique email addresses. So instead of holder, I'm going to rename this to emails. And this is where we're going to add in the unique email addresses. And this is going to be from the raw emails that we have initially captured from the pattern match of the regular expression using the match method. So let's loop through all of the raw emails, and we return back the email address. And what we want to do is we want to check to see if the email address is already included within the emails array. If it's not included, then we're going to add it into the emails array. So we can have a condition to check to see if emails includes the value of email. And then includes will return back a Boolean value, whether it's included or not within the emails array. And if it's not included, then we definitely want to add that into the emails. So there we can set the emails and push the email address as we're iterating through the raw emails and add that into our emails array. So let's see what we get. So right now they're going to be matching because we have 3 unique email addresses. If we do that again, the raw data is going to produce all 6 of the emails, and this is what's being iterated through as we're going through the loop and returning back only the unique emails. So what we want to do is we want to output this to the user so that they can make a selection of the content that's contained within the emails. We can also set up separate text areas within the results to make them selectable. So let's do that, where once we loop through and once we've got a set of emails, we also need to have a condition in case that there are no matches found right now. What's going to happen is it's actually going to throw an error. So if this match is not found, then it's being returned back as null. So we need to also account for that if the value of emails raw is null, and I'm going to move the emails array outside so that either way we can have some returned results for the emails. So if there's nothing that's been returned within the emails, so that will just produce a count of 0 within the emails array, and we can handle that as we're outputting that. So checking to see if the emails raw is not equal to null, and if that's the case, then we know that we can loop through and we can build out the array of emails from the raw emails. So let's see how that works, and just make sure that we can handle if we don't have the proper data within the string. So we return back a value of null for the raw emails, and the emails array is just going to be blank. So we can put a result there for the user. And let's go ahead and we're going to create a div element and add that div into the results area using the document create element, and the element that we're creating is going to be a div. The div will have text content, and here we can have a dynamic returned value where, depending on the length of the array, or it should just say found emails. And because these are backticks here, the template literals, I can use the $ and the curly brackets for the variable. And so we'll return back within the emails length will tell us how many emails are found within the array. So that we want to output onto the page. So selecting the results element, and then we can append the div to the results element. So we've got found emails 3. So every time we do a search, it'll produce a new set of results there that gets appended. So if we don't have any of those values, we get the emails is at 0. So let's go ahead and we're going to add in another condition. So if the email's length is going to be greater than 0, so if we do have some found results, we're going to create a new text area using the document create element, and the element that we're creating is going to be a text area. And we want to set the results to this new text area with all of the emails that have been found. And using the join method, we're going to join these emails together. And then after, we can update the separator for the emails within the join method. And this is a JavaScript method that's going to join together an array into a string format. And that's going to be ideal for us to output it within the text area that we're just creating. So set the value of that. And this is going to take the emails, join, and then what we want as the separator between the emails. So just use a comma there. And then append the new text area that we've just created to the results that we're responding back to the user. So that's going to be the object that it gets added to. So if there are emails found, it creates these text areas. If there's no emails found, then it doesn't create any text areas. So if there are emails, it's going to comma separate the emails that are found. And so we want to make this that it's selectable. In addition, we want to also provide the user an opportunity to update what the separator is, what the separator character is. And we can do that within the HTML, where we can have a select area and a number of different options for the separator between the email addresses. So let's set up a label. And this is going to be for the separator. So I'll just call it SAP email. And then the select area, where we're going to have the different options for the separators. So the option and the value for the separator. So the first one is just going to be to comma separate. And you can add whatever customized ones that you want to add. And we can also set this as selected by default. Or if you want to separate it with a dash, set the separator as the dash. Remove out the selected there. So it automatically will get that as the selected option. I'm also going to set up a separate div for the button so that it takes a new line, a new block line for the code. So the email separator. And within the styling of the page, we'll set the label and display as block. So that will move it to separate lines. You can also customize the styling as needed. Give it a little bit of margin so there's separation between the button. Let's add in a few other options for separators. And one could just be the space. Could also do an underscore. And sometimes people will want the colon, the semicolon, to separate them. So those are some of the options that we can have for the email separators. And we'll let the user make the selection. So going back into the code, so the selector, using the document query selector, and give this an ID for the separator, and we'll select it by the ID. And then what we want to do is we want to use the value in order to do the join. So the value of the separator at the time when we're doing the emails. So that's going to separate the emails using the colon. Let's also apply the focus on the text area. So apply the focus method. So that will automatically put the focus to the email area, and add an event listener. So once we select, and this should actually be click, and when it gets selected, then we're going to output selected within the console. So that's going to be the action. And what we want to do is we want to select that current text area. So use the select method in order to make a selection of it. So we've added in the focus. It's going to select all of the content within there. So that's going to make it easy for the user to go in, paste some content within the text content area, select the separator that they want to use, and then get the emails that are within that text area with the separator that they want to use. And they can easily just make a selection of that text and copy it within their clipboard and then paste it where needed. Let's go ahead and we're going to add one more element, and this is going to be a download button that the user can use in order to download the content. So using the document and create another element for the page, and this is going to be just a regular button. And then within the button, and set the text content to the button, download emails. So that will create the download button. And just as the other elements that we created, append it to the results area for the user. So we've got the download emails. And we can also make this more dynamic as well. where we could have a value for the number of emails. So we can just grab the emails length here. So that will tell us how many emails that we're downloading. And we want to set this as a clickable button. So adding in the event listener, just as we've created the page element. So adding in the event listener. So once this button gets clicked, then we're going to run the function. We'll just do an anonymous function within this event. And selecting up, creating the file name that we want to use. And we can just call it we'll create a text file. So emails.text. And then within here, we're going to create a separate element using the document. And this will make the automatic download. So create the element, and the element that we're creating is going to be an anchor tag. So once the main button gets clicked, we're going to create an element dynamically. And then we're going to set some attributes to that element. So using the set attribute method, set the attribute, the href, and that's going to be linking to data download. So set it up as text plain. And then the character set is going to use the UTF-8 character set. And then we want to use the encode URI component. And this is where we're going to add in the actual text content from the text area where we've got the emails join. So let's set this up as a value, and we'll just call it my emails as a variable. So this is going to make it easier for us to just select that content as it's sitting within the my emails. And we're going to use the encode URI component in order to properly encode it for the file. Let's set some more attributes to the anchor tag that we're making. And this is going to be a download attribute for the element. And we want to download it as this file name. And the file name is already coming from emails tx. Set the element style to display none, as we don't need it showing up on the page. And we're going to append it to the main body. So the document body, append the anchor tag. With JavaScript, click the element, and then afterwards, we're going to remove the child from the document body. So once we've clicked it, that's going to complete the download within the user's browser of the text file that we've just created. So do a remove child of that element. And this should actually be a colon for the script to work. So let's go ahead and we're going to try it out. So we have some emails there that we want to extract out of the text. We've got the separator that we want to separate. So we'll separate it by the colon, semicolon. And now we select the get emails. That gives us a text area with just all of the emails. And we also get a download button that we can click the download button, and that's going to download the emails directly to our computer. And these are all coming from the text area that's been extracted. So select that and open that up. So right now we just have the test in there, and I've got to update that to have the my email addresses in there. So add the my emails in there, and let's try that one more time, where we're going to download to simulate downloading all of the emails there, and download the 3 files, open up the emails, and there's the set of emails. So if we were to update the text area, and I'll just duplicate it, and I'll make some quick updates to the email addresses so that we get a bunch of unique email addresses, and use the dash as the separator. So that finds 6 emails. Let's do a download of the email file. So there's all 6 emails that are downloaded into the text file under the text one, and they're separated with the dash. That one's a little bit hard to see, so we might want to go back in here and make an update to it. If we have the dash, then we're going to space it out, and also with the comma separation, let's add in a space. The underscore, we can add in a space, and the colon, we can add in a space. So these are all optional, however you want to manage this for the users. So let's try that one more time and get the download and see if it's a little bit easier to read. So that time it is a little bit easier to read because we've got the spacing. So you can customize these as needed. Also, I'm going to add in a little bit of styling to the page elements. So add in a class of button, so that way we can set the buttons to be on a new block. And also I'll add in a little bit of styling for the background color of the button. and then the color of the text on the button will be white. Go back into the code here, and when we're creating the download button, and actually this is going to be a class list add, and the class that we're adding is going to be btn. So refresh, get the emails. So there's our download button. And actually I'm going to customize this as well, that we've got a, because it's adding in the margin at the top. So I don't want to add that to all of the buttons. So let's go ahead and we're going to add in the class for button 1, just for the main button element, because I was adding in the margin. So it was adding some additional margin between those. We can also update and add in a way to separate out this new content area that we're creating. So it's within the emails found and the text area. So instead of having the div, we can do the same where we've got the class list and add, and we'll add an element called box. So that will again allow us to apply some styling to the element in order to separate it. So do a little bit of padding there, 10 pixels, and let's do a border and just do a really light border color there. So try that again. So that's going to give us a little bit more styling there. And we can also update this as we're adding a brand new div. So instead of appending it to the main area, we can just create a main container element for that. So to create that as another div, and that's where we're going to add the box. So I'll call this main, and that's where we can add in the box. Instead of appending it to the main area, we're just going to append the main element to the results area, and then the new elements that we create, so they're going to be nested within there, we're appending these to that main block, so that main div on the page. So add in the button, and then also let's go ahead and we're going to save that and just see what that looks like. And we also want to add the text area into that block as well. So append it to main. So that gives us more of a separation as we're creating these new blocks. They've got all the different downloads that we can select the content and then make it easy to separate out all of these blocks of content. I'm also going to set the text area styling, and let's set that to be 90%. So that will give us a little bit more space. And also let's do a minimum height of better layout for our text content and our text area. A little bit easier to read. And because we don't have a whole lot of content, I make that slightly smaller. So go ahead and create your own version. You can customize the styling as needed, as well as the different separators and the file names as you're downloading the different files with the emails that are being extracted from the text area. And of course, once you're ready to put this into production, you can comment out the content within the text area. So that will just have a blank content area ready to be pasted in with whatever email and string values that you want to use. So if there's nothing in there, and then you can select and paste a bunch of email addresses. So it's going to find the emails, the unique values, and give you an opportunity to download those.